Welcome, everybody, to the third part in this three-part series of analyzing identitarianism. In this
Hello.
third and final part, we are going to discuss how to clean up the national conversation. In other words, how do we stop talking solely about arbitrary traits like whether someone's black or white or gay or straight or male or female or I don't know what religion they are, and start talking about things that impact our lives to not just a much greater extent, but to such a great extent that it pervades everything,
See,
everything
I
in
was
our
really
lives.
just worried. I was really worried that your idea of cleaning up the national conversation was just making sure that you never needed to bleep track this show ever again. And I was getting ready to remind you that it has been determined in Parliament that such language is part of the national vernacular and cannot be treated as fundamentally unreasonable, and that you should go yourself.
Thank you for that. For that, God, every time I'm on a train of thought, you rip me off the rails.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. So trying to figure out where I was going with that. Right.
we're going
So
to clean
okay.
up the national conversation. We're going to shove soap in everyone's mouths. This is our
Yes.
policy.
Yes. Soap for everyone. You get soap and you get soap. Soap for everyone. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Yeah. See, I
Yep,
got the
yep.
camera in front of my face there, so I
You
don't know.
you look like you're doing the like luscious face wash thing with your hands.
Kind of like I was
That's
last week
another way
with
of cleaning up
with
the
the
national
hair.
conversation.
Oh, hey, I'm not that dirty. I mean, at least not in public. Anyway,
Exactly enough of a fan of Christina Aguilera to just say no, everyone is dirty or else.
don't know who that is, but let's not get distracted with it. Um, so how do we clean it up? Well, I actually think that it's rather simple as a solution. Practicality. That is the word, that is the order of the day is practicality. All right, people, the reason why the national conversation is so um is so down in
Misused.
the well, I was going to say down in the gutter, but yeah, but the reason why it's so messed up, why it doesn't really produce anything of value is because it isn't practical. It is talking about either issues that aren't really issues, or it's talking about problems without solutions.
Mm-hmm.
It's and all of the, like, when you ask people, well, what do you want to do, the answers are vague because the answers they're presented with are vague, and the media that they consume, mostly from media machines, that provides them a vague answer, and then they just pass on that vague answer. And so what you need to do is adopt a very practical mindset. Now,
Some
what does it
people
look?
think that we should adopt puppies. Other people say that puppies are the devil. But what do you think?
Jesus. That's, I don't know where that came from, but I'll ask you after. So, but
Just to
yeah,
call
so
back to like psychology week.
oh, okay, okay. You'll have to remind me because my mind's a bit fried. But yeah, later though. Because as I said, damn it, I will keep these episodes to time. 14 minutes maximum. So, yeah, so be very practical with your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'd say I'm actually curious, what would your opinion or what would your input be on how to have a practical mindset?
I think it actually comes down to a certain selectivity as well. Like
Hmm.
we can say, analyze things, have a very detached mindset, look through the facts.
Define
But I
define
think,
detached in that. What does it mean to have a detached sort of
well,
mindset?
you may remember that last episode I referred to like the therapy side of things, that you can control your response to your emotions, you can control how you act on your emotions. But
Hmm.
I think it's also important to accept that you need to be a little bit detached from your own preconceptions when you look at new information. But what
Like
I was sort of getting at there was you
I
need
think I've
to.
got it. I think I've got it.
Mm,
In when I was in video game development, there was this saying, it was kill your darlings. The idea is that
yes,
you have to be willing to let go of things that you hold dear in order to look at things clearly.
yes.
Okay.
That's fundamentally it. But
Yeah.
also, I think that a certain amount of selectivity is required. There's another saying in programming: garbage in, garbage out. If the media you are consuming is designed to just sort of placate you without making you think,
Mm.
if the media you're consuming is actively discouraging you from thinking, perhaps, I think a certain amount of self-improvement is required. You need
Yeah.
to sort of try and understand where people are coming from when they make arguments. You need to try and understand their beliefs. Even if they seem completely wrong, you need to see where they're coming from, because sometimes they will be completely wrong. Sometimes there's something in there that's half right. Sometimes there's something that's useful. And sometimes you can know with certainty that this entire argument is trash and you should throw it away. But you can't determine that
Mm.
until you've actually examined the views of people who you do not believe that you agree with.
Yeah.
Not
And
people that are
that's
opposed to you, people who you do not believe that you agree with.
Yeah, and that's actually a very it reminds me of something that I was seeing recently. You ever heard of that guy? He made a series called Ancient Apocalypse. I'm forgetting his name. It was recently brought out on
Mm.
Netflix, and it's complete crap. Um, but the thing is, I instead of watching the series, I watched something much more interesting, which was basically a series called I Watched Ancient Apocalypse So You Don't Have to. And it went through every single claim he made and just absolutely like it just completely
Is
broke
this
it
the
down
guy
piece
with the
by piece.
wild hair who's like aliens? Or
No, no,
is
no,
there
no.
another guy?
There's another guy. He's an older fellow. Um, he, I'm trying to remember the bloody name, but I can't remember. But Ancient Apocalypse, he believes that that the like human civilization's much older than we thought, and there was ancient, more advanced civilizations. Um, and he
Graham
misrepresents a bunch.
Hancock.
That's the one. That's the one. Graham Hancock. So yeah, but the it kind of reminds me of that because he in his series he sets you up by basically making the claim that, you know, like mainstream archaeology um are basically, how do I put it? They're trying to like quiet him. They're trying to shut him up. They're trying to like, they're trying to essentially just not let him put
Keep the
his
truth from coming out.
yeah, they're trying to keep the truth from coming out.
You
And
know
what's
what the worst
really
bit is of this? I've just had a look at a photo of the guy, right? And this
mm,
is one of those biases. Sometimes we see faces and we just want to trust. And
mm.
the guy, he looks like he has the face of a person that I want to trust.
Yeah, yeah, but here's the thing. He biases you against trusting
Other
archaeologists, even
people.
though he's not,
Hmm.
yeah, and he's not an archeologist himself.
No, he's a
Um,
journalist, apparently.
yeah, yeah. And so, it reminds me of that where he's basically to buy if your media is biasing you against listening to other people, you are watching the wrong media because that media is trying to keep you from other opinions, from being exposed to those opinions, because they
Mm.
know that if you are exposed to those other opinions, then you will see through their lies. You will see that their arguments don't stack up. Kind of like how Sky News keeps saying, the lefty media, and left is basically,
Left,
they'll
derogatory.
yeah, derogatory, but also, they'll attach whatever meaning that they want to that to make it look as terrible as possible.
I'm reminded of 1984, right? That it's shaping thought to say that basically if you think in a way other than the party, you're defective.
Yeah, and it's like the
But
two
I'm
minutes the
also
2 minutes of hate because they show you the guy talking, but nobody's listening to the guy talking.
no, they're all
The
screaming
enemy
and
there.
riled
Yeah,
up.
Yeah, because they were basically biased to see him as evil. And so,
Um,
that's what the
I
media
was
is doing.
watching Dr.
We're actually
Sabine
we're actually
Hossenfelder recently. Just give me a sec.
we've
And
only
she
got
said
2 minutes.
something that's okay, but she said something that I think really resonates here. Um, and she was saying that if you are listening to someone and they say that only one of these things can be true, um, where there are two equally likely options, then they are trying to sell you something. They are trying to make you think a certain way.
Mm. Well, see, a lot of when I have a lot of political conversations, people will say, "No, that can't be true. This is true." Um,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the time, actually, both of them can be true. And the answer is a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more complicated than just either that one's true or that one's true. Or like basically, it's kind of like this whole left-right dichotomy. Either left is good or right is good, or left is evil or right is evil.
See, this
One's
is
good,
why
one's
we don't
evil.
have
But it's bullshit.
this is why we don't have enough viewers, Kyle. We're not providing easy answers. We're not giving the
Yeah,
snap of dopamine of we can solve your problems. We're telling
yeah,
people they might have to put in the effort to solve their problems.
yeah. Or at
We're
least
telling people
understand
that
their
it might be
problems.
difficult to understand problems and solve them.
Yeah,
We need
yeah.
to like produce content of like mobile games or something so that people
it's
can listen to
it's
us
all
and
right.
get
I've
dopamine.
got Yeah, I've got someone working on shorts. They're gonna like basically
Mm-hmm.
we've got a bunch of shorts being worked on. Essentially it's gonna be just like us here. But basically zoomed in on one of us, whoever's talking, and it'll just be clips, just like things that'll be interesting or provocative or
And
so
then
we'll get there. We'll give them a source of dopamine.
when one of our internet connections drops out, we'll just have the still and just have it slowly zooming in on the eye while like some sad music is playing in the background or elevator music. No thoughts, head empty.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we've almost run out of time. We're
I think
kind of
we've
in
sort of
overtime
got it
now.
with regards to cleaning up the national conversation, though.
Sort
It
of.
is a
There's
matter
one
of
more thing I want to
encouraging
say.
individuals to think and stop listening to people who aren't even trying to hide the fact that they have an agenda anymore.
Yeah, but there is one more thing that I want to touch on. And that's for
Mm-hmm.
those people who are already trying to push for political action based on these very narrow minded, but also very vague notions. What they need to do is they need to want practical actions in politics, and they need to think about what those practical actions are. They have to know what their destination is. A destination can't be, well, this is the thing that then goes on forever. No, there must be an end point, like a point at which you say, this is complete. We have completed the mission. And if you can't get to that in very practical terms, like someone's like, we have to, um, we have to stop the immigrants, for a very vague and shitty notion. We have
Build
to
the
stop the
wall is a
immigrants.
good example,
Yeah,
right? Build
build
the
the wall.
wall.
Yeah.
Once there's a
Well, then
wall,
again, build the
you have
wall
an
actually had a
endpoint.
yeah,
Yeah,
build the
that's
wall
what I'm
actually
getting
had an
at.
endpoint. I think that's part of what Trump supporters liked is there was an
It
actual
wasn't a
like
very practical one, but you know.
yeah, but there was still an endpoint. You could visualize it. You could see it.
Mm.
You knew where you were headed. You knew what you were going to do, and you knew when it would be complete. And so you have to know your destination. You can't just say, for example, stop sexism. Well, what does that look like in practical terms? Okay, well, let's take it in very practical terms. Um, women are, given the right to have an abortion up until the point where a fetus is then a baby and
Viable.
viable outside the womb. They
Equal pay
are,
is the one that comes to
equal
mind for
pay.
me.
Well, yeah, although that's pretty much solved already. Like, it's a long,
Mm,
okay, look, it's a long story, but it's to do, a lot of the people who say that
I
equal pay
know, I
isn't,
know, I
they don't,
know.
they forget about years of experience. They forget about, they're comparing jobs that aren't like exactly the same a lot. And there are a few outlying cases,
I
but
know.
those
There's
can be
cherry
solved in other
picking
ways.
data. There's still there's
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
make a fairer
But anyway,
society. It just
but that
requires that
being
we
said,
understand math.
yeah, but that being said, if that is, if that is what your endpoint, those are still practical things though. So, basically the ability to choose to get an abortion up until the point where the fetus becomes a baby and is therefore viable outside the womb, equal pay and equal treatment in the workplace, um, you know, stuff like that. Say that was, there's probably a lot more that people can think of, but say those were
Of
your 2
course.
points. Say those were your 2 points. Once those are done, then it is complete. You have achieved, equality for women, and and you've stopped sexism, So that's, again, you need to know your destination, and you need to think about it in very practical terms, very practical actions and outcomes. And so with that, I think that's everything I wanted to get through, and I believe you were good
I've
before.
got one more point on that, which is actually sort of contradictory.
Really?
In terms of
Let's hear it.
society, I think it's important to see an endpoint. But in
Mm,
terms of yourself as a person, this goes for every single person who's alive right now. I want you to make a commitment that you will, every single day of your life, strive to be a better version of yourself than the one you were yesterday. I want you to seek out new information. I want you to think about the easy problems, and I want you to think about the hard problems. I'm not saying like lawyer up, hit the gym, delete Facebook, but I think that continual self improvement is also a part of cleaning up the national conversation. And maybe that self improvement is that you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself you're going to put away the laundry and you actually do it.
mm. And
Maybe that's your little bit of improvement for the day because in the
yeah,
past 5 days you haven't.
yeah, and
But
maybe
I
that
want
self
you all to be a
improvement
better
is reading.
person.
Yeah, and maybe that self improvement is reading reading something about politics from somebody that you wouldn't normally read, just to get a differing opinion, just to see a different perspective, just to
Read
gain
Karl
that
Marx
wisdom.
in the original German.
Just, some things are
As
going
someone
too
who
far.
can read German, I don't actually recommend that.
Yeah, yeah. That's some things are going a bit far. I was thinking more like, read some, like a, I don't know. I don't know if Martin North, the economist, which I
Mm.
respect the most right now, um, has a book out. But maybe take a look at what he's got to say, or somebody else, somebody you wouldn't normally listen to, gain some perspective, and that's all we can ask for, is for people to gain some perspective, be a bit more practical. For
I'm
now,
also a big fan of Nassim Taleb, for what it's worth, who writes books on how we get fooled by our idea of what is likely to happen all the damn time.
interesting. You gotta
Yeah,
send me a link on that. For now, though,
sure
we
thing.
have run over time, so we'll see you later. Thanks for watching, and
Take care, everyone.